Welcome to the second episode of The Plastic Cup. We're so glad that you're here joining with us, and thank you for spending some extra minutes with us. You guys are in it for a treat today because I have my dear friend Nina Cooper here. She has been a dear friend since I moved to Middle Tennessee. She actually even helped us before we actually got here. We were in conversations because you were a realtor, and so but through a lot of interaction with Nina, you're going to find out she's one of the warmest hearts you'll find, and she is just a sweet lady. So I'm so glad that you decided to join me.
I'm so excited. I love what you're doing here.
Well, we're glad to have you. She is a Christian wife and a mother. She's a grandmother. You've been a business owner, and you are you?
I did own my own staging company, but currently I'm a realtor. That's what I do.
And I know your husband owned a business too.
Yes.
So you guys are busy people. You're caretaking for your mother right now. She lives with you.
My mom lives with us.
She is a sweet lady too, if you haven't gotten to meet her. And again, most importantly, she's just become a close and dear friend, and I appreciate her on so many levels. She's pretty well known in Spring Hill. In the past, I know you've been in Alderman. To be honest, I've never really knew what that was.
I've been in Alderman for the town of Thompson Station, not Spring Hill. It's an elected official. There's a mayor, and then there are aldermen.
Okay. So, and I know, very early on, if you talk with Nina, you'll realize, she's very good at relationships, and she's used that both in her profession, and I feel like even in her ministries with people. We probably should start with how we bought this house.
I'll have to live up to all that.
Oh, you do?
You're so sweet.
So my husband and I have bought several houses over the years, and we don't, I don't know if I say we flip them, but we get kind of older, dingier houses, and we try to fix them up as we live in them and sell it for as much profit as we can to kind of inch us to the next step. So when the Lord led us here to Spring Hill, Tennessee, we were very excited. We met up with Nina just to look at some houses, but it became apparent that this area didn't have tons of older homes because it's not a super old area.
Right. So
we just realized our budget would have to go up a little bit. We have 4 children, so we need a fairly large size house. So we were like, okay, we know we're going to move to Spring Hill. We'll try to take a weekend and fly down there. But what was happening, every time we'd find a house that we were interested in, I'd call you, and you'd be like,
it's
sold.
off the market. It's sold.
And so we were like, man, okay, well, why don't we just rent? Well, Dan started checking into the renting prices for, we have a dog and 4 kids. He was like, we can't afford to rent.
It doesn't make sense.
It's really expensive.
Family.
So then we were like, man. And we were kind of, to me, I don't know if you remember, for me, it was like we were at the end of our short list of houses that we would be interested in looking at. The house we're in now, I remember seeing it several times, but it was a little bit on the higher register, and we weren't really comfortable spending that. But it had been on there for a while, and I could tell it needed some stuff. So I remember I saved that email when we talked about it because I just think it was a God thing. But I just said, Nina, what do you think about this house, this neighborhood? You know where it is. And I remember you said, the area and the square footage, it actually looks like it's priced pretty right, but I think we should go see it. So actually, you and Dina.
Yeah. So that was a fun day because, of course, Brenda and Dan were not present for this showing. And so Dina and I enlisted Dina. I'm like, come on, we got to go look at this house. And so we went, and I took the iPad, and we did a video tour of the house, which was so much fun. I mean, Dina and I had so much fun that day, and it was just fun to be able to show it to you from a distance. And that was kind of before, it was probably one of the first ones I had done. Now we're doing those all the time, but back then we weren't doing them so often. But it was it was a good thing for you to be able to see it from a distance. And I just knew that house was going to be right for you. It needed a lot of TLC, which equals to 15 to 20 gallons worth of paint is what it needed.
I think it was over 30.
It was over 30 gallons of paint, but we enjoyed helping you. I know a lot of people from church pitched in, and which is wonderful. My husband
spent many hours helping me paint. He was my painting buddy.
He did.
There were several other in the church that came over too, so it was a huge blessing.
But it's a great house. It's a great house.
Well, one of the first memories I have of I had the van with the dog and some of the kids, and Dan had the big truck pulling our car, and we were pulling in, and of course it takes a little longer with the truck and stuff. We just can't make great time from Pennsylvania. And I remember calling you and say, okay, we're like a little bit out, and I know you you felt bad because the church people were coming to help at 6 or whatever to meet there, and it was what, 5:45?
Yeah,
I mean,
everybody was pulling up at the same
you were
time,
like,
and you
I-
hadn't even seen your house
And
yet.
she was like, I kind of want them to see the house first. But I remember we pulled up. The kids were just excited to get out of the car. But Nina was in our front beds, like the flower beds, like pulling on the ground, pulling weeds. And here, I had never met her son. Her son was in the back mowing our grass, and I was just like you cannot find a better realtor than that. Like, you just can't. It's not going to happen. And then later on too, when we got into the house and decided we need to paint, like Skip was right there helping us, like for a lot. And he was a lot of fun to get to know too. It was fun getting to know him. But
Well,
you guys,
I just want to add that we just really loved you and Dan from the start. We were so excited to be getting an associate pastor, and it was just a fun project, and I think a project from the heart from us, and I think I speak from the church as well as for many of the church people. We were just so grateful for you being here and excited for you to get here.
Oh, well, it was,
with the kids.
You guys just were a huge blessing on so many levels. And really, Nina has continued to be a blessing in my life. We check in with each other occasionally, texting and things like that. And actually, very recently, I started school. So I have my 4 kids, and I started online school and things like that. So my life was kind of becoming a little bit more than I anticipated, I think. And I was truly panicking. I mean, that's probably looking back to your, you probably recognize it as that. Sure. But I actually called her, and I was like, I don't know exactly why the Lord had me call her, but I just knew she would be somebody that I could get some wise counsel for. She could kind of, help me work through this. And we met up at the Fainting Goat, and we talked, and it was super huge for me to have that with her. And I know she was just, I mean, she's a busy lady, but she just took time with me, and she helped walk me through it, asked some really good questions, and just helped kind of relieve some of those fears. And it added a depth, I think, to just my admiration for you, and
Well, thank you. I appreciate
thankfulness
that.
for our friendship. So that's the kind of person she is. Okay, so we brought our cups, and my last cup with Melissa was a plain pink cup, and I kind of shared the story. This was I've only been to one Nashville Sounds game, so this is where we got this cup. And so I just thought I'd bring it. So, but it was a really fun night, and the weather was beautiful. I think my son and Dan, and we went with a bunch of other people. So it just has good memories for me. So that's this cup here. But what is your favorite go-to cup, and why?
Okay, so this is my favorite go-to cup, coffee cup, and you could see a little drawing on the front of it. It's an Indian with the sun going down, and it's my favorite because JD, my youngest, who's now 21, did this print for me when he was in kindergarten. And I didn't know it. It was a Christmas gift. You know how kindergarten teachers, they're so awesome. They have the kids do these projects, and then they give them to mom and dad for Christmas. And so it just has always been one of my favorite things. It's 16 years old. I get nervous when anybody uses it except for me.
It's irreplaceable, truly.
I probably need to retire it, but that is. I mean, and that's, and my thing is I like to collect coffee cups. We go someplace, and it started way back when they had all these coffee cups with your name on it, and I never could find Nina anywhere. So I just challenged all my kids, if they travel, if you find a coffee cup with Nina, and that was kind of what we did on vacation if we were going out shopping or whatever. And so that just evolved into different coffee cups, and now the kids bring me coffee cups from where they go. But this is probably my favorite cup that I have.
Well, it's easy to realize how irreplaceable it is.
It
so
is.
It's okay
it
to
is.
be
And
a
I
little
have a mouse
defensive.
pad also with that print on it. And it's like shredded. It's like falling apart.
And you'll probably never get rid of it. So
I
it's
won't
okay.
get rid of it. No.
Now, do you have a favorite drink?
I'm a coffee girl.
Yeah. How do you
And-
take your coffee?
Loaded. Cream and sugar.
Okay.
I mean, just from the start, so I'm Italian. I mean, my parents started us drinking coffee when we were kids. It was no big deal. So I've been drinking coffee for a long time. It is my favorite drink, I would have to say.
Now, do you have in the area like a favorite coffee, like where you get your coffee? Do you have a favorite brand, I guess?
I don't really have a favorite brand. Like if you go different, like we went to the Fainting Goat, I have something I like there. If I go to the other big box name. I have a favorite drink there.
Yeah.
I like going to coffee shops. You
Yeah.
know, I think it's just fun to meet friends there.
I
and
do
you
like
could
the
really
atmosphere.
just unwind and talk and get to know people. And
My guess is, being a realtor, you kind of
yes, it's a great.
you
it's
go
a-
to a lot of coffee shops.
I do. You know, we meet people. I hardly ever meet anyone in the office. I have an office, but we just don't. We just don't meet in the office. It's just convenient to go local. Where I go where they are.
Okay. Well, that kind of lends us into the next question. We talked. Nina is a realtor in the area, and you've been doing it for some time, and I know you have a wide network now. But can you share one of your funniest realtor stories? I'm sure you have some.
I have some. I think that it wasn't funny at the time, but looking back, you know, I was showing a house, and I did not know that there was a cat in the house. And so it wasn't in the notes or anything, so I opened the door, and you know how it is when you're showing houses, there's 3 people behind you, and you're trying to get the door unlocked, so I opened the door, and out goes that cat. And so here's me chasing the cat down the street, and that was in the beginning. And I used to dress up in the beginning. I would wear heels, and you know, not anymore. But I guess I'd have to say that was pretty funny if you were watching it from afar.
Did you catch the cat?
I did. I
Yeah.
caught it. I'm like,
Now, was there like some serious calls and note taking saying you need to put that in the listing or the thing so that other realtors don't have to chase this
oh yeah,
cat?
there was a conversation. There was.
I bet. So Nina, this whole plastic cup idea and just like making connections, could you take a few minutes and just share how you came to know Christ? Like, how did that start?
Absolutely. So I mean, Christ was always in my life. Growing up, we went to Catholic school when we were young, and that was in Chicago. And so when I moved down here, I'd kind of gotten away from the Catholic Church a little bit, but married my husband. Of course, you know, we have 2 older boys from his first marriage, and you know, his first thing was we need to find a church. And so I mean, I would probably credit my husband for really getting me back into the church, and just that realization that we have kids now. Like, this is a big deal. We have to raise these kids, and we have to do a good job, and we have to do them right, which to me equals church, you know, and having God in our lives and God in their lives. And so that's really how I came to know him on a personal relationship. I mean, I grew closer to Christ when I moved to Tennessee, and just the churches that we've been to, and now Community Baptist Church, which we love. I mean, this church is a family. We loved our other churches, but we never really felt connected to people, and we just feel very blessed and connected to everyone here. We just love coming. We love seeing everybody Sunday morning.
Now, how did you? I don't have this in my notes, but I remember, like, how did you come to Community?
Well, we met Pastor and Dina through football. JD and Daniel were itty bitty. I think they were 6 or 7, and they were playing football for Spring Hill, and that's how we met them. And so through our kids' relationship, we became friends, and then eventually came to church here.
That's awesome. We talked a little bit about how you are very good at relationships. It becomes very clear when anyone that gets to know you that you're good at listening, you're good at hearing what people are saying. And my guess is too, that's really important doing the profession that you do, listening to what your client needs and things like that. But how are you able to intertwine your faith and in your profession? Like, how are you, like, what are some ideas or experiences that you've had? And what things have you learned about interpersonal relationships, either just through life experience or your job or things like that?
So, I mean, in real estate, you learn to listen more than talk, you know, even though you're in sales. But really, the key is to listen and to pay attention to what people's needs are, so you can match them to the right property. And so that's just what I do. As far as intertwining God and in with my work, I just think it's just a level of professionalism, and I think it's important to, you know, to show the face of Christ when you meet people and when you help people, you know, and not to get frustrated because you're on your 12th house, you know, and just to be super patient and, you know, I know it's a cliche, but you know, what would Jesus do? And just kind of walk in that all the time. And to me, it's caring for people beyond the close of the transaction, keeping that relationship going, checking in with them, being there for the ups and downs, you know, and it just works for me. I have a lot of people that I've helped over the years purchase more than one property. I've helped their children, people who have like, oh, my sister's moving to town, or oh, my parents decided they were going to move here, or we're being transferred, that kind of thing. So that's just really how I do it. I can't say that I don't really, you know, do a lot of thinking about it. It's just how I've always been. But I just want to say I do pray over my people, and I do pray over my listings and over their needs. And sometimes those prayers aren't answered immediately. But it's funny because when we finally close or we finally find that house, it's like, okay, God, I get it. I get why it took so long, you know. Yeah. So I'm a big, you know, when you talk about what fills your cup, you know, prayer is one of them for me. And, you know, I wish I was super diligent about it. Like sometimes I'm super good, and then life gets busy, and so you're not praying as often as you should. But to me, just praying just relieves a lot of stress, and then just those answered prayers. I mean, talk about filling your cup and overflowing when you get one of those answered prayers. It's pretty good.
Absolutely, and I feel like when God answers those prayers, I don't know if you've had this, but you kind of are like amazed. Like you prayed for it and you asked, but then you're like,
did that
God
just
actually
happen?
answered? And then you're like, wait a minute, why am I surprised?
Yeah.
But I am every time, sometimes. And I just, it's, you know, I like what you said too when you talked about being patient with people. If you, any kind of job that you're working with people, you have got to learn to be patient with people. And this is something I'm always working on. It's something I'm working on with my children on a daily basis. But I've learned over the years, like there's no timetable that everyone fits into. That, well, you're supposed to grow and be at this point, or you're supposed to and that's something I have at times learned through hurting somebody, or at times being disappointed or being frustrated. But my husband is really good at this, and that's one thing I'm so thankful for, a husband he's very patient. He truly is just a patient guy, and he gives people the time, and I'm more of a pusher. I'm like, okay, we've given him a chance, now let's move past this. Right. And he really has discipled me in that way. But it's just something that I've learned a lot of, just patience with people, pray. Right. And you can't do that work. You can't, you know, you've got to let people have the time they need to get to the next step, whatever that is. And a lot of times I think we like to say, well, you should be here, and it's just not that way. So how do we talked earlier about you having all these roles right now. I mean, we've talked in the past, I know you kind of recently had a wedding in the family that kind of, you know, was a lot of planning and things, but how do you balance all those different roles?
Hire a wedding planner.
There you go.
Worth the money. No, anyway, it's tough. It's tough. It's hard, you know. Through the years, there's been a lot of pushing back. Oh, I can't do this, or I have to do this. You just get it done. I mean, how does any mom do it? You know, we have so many hats that we wear on a daily basis, and you just have to get tough, you know, and do it. I mean, there's a lot of people that rely on us, and you know, your days may be a little bit longer. You know, especially when your kids are little. You know, it's just balancing everything is tough, but it's doable. And the way that I finally got, to me, it was like a personal thing from God, is like, we can't do perfect here. You know, we don't worry about having a perfect house where all your drawers are neat and tidy, and you know, just get it done. Get through your day and prioritize the things that need to be prioritized, and just keep working through that checklist all week long. I mean, that's just how I do it. You know, because and some, you know, and then just when you're slow, because we do have slow times in real estate, you know, when you get over the initial panic that the market's slow, you just say, okay, I've been complaining that I don't have time to do this. Now I have time to do this, and so you just jump in. And I think staying busy is important, and just keeping after it. You just have to keep after it.
Yeah.
You know, and prioritize.
Well, I'm so thankful that you came and joined us here on the Plastic Cup. I'm thankful for your friendship and your advice. You're very good, as you've probably seen. She's very good about sometimes just saying the practical thing, which sometimes that's the best thing you can do. You know, I think sometimes I get in my own head and I know, oh, I know God thinks this and I know God thinks that, and you kind of just get in your head, and you're very good at saying, you know, be practical here.
Yeah.
These are great thoughts,
Yeah.
but rubber meets the road. So I appreciate that very much.
I did want to mention one thing as far as like what else fills my
cup. Oh yes,
cup.
please.
So a couple of years ago, I started a mentoring I didn't start the mentoring program. I started participating in a mentoring program called the Oak Project.
Okay.
And our very own Michael Nolan is the president of it. It's out of Lipscomb University. I was so afraid to do that at the beginning because I thought, well, what do I have? Like, what could I offer? I mean, these young people today are so sharp. They've got it going on. But I have gotten so much out of that. I mean, talk about filling your cup, to give back in that way and just to pour into a young person. And these are young adults. These are people that are starting their career, and you know, they're God-fearing young people, which I love, and they just need somebody like we have a lot of transplants here in Tennessee, and you know, maybe their mom and dad aren't here, and so they're here alone, and they just need to bounce things off of people. And I would highly recommend doing that. It has been so much joy for me, and it has really filled my cup. I just love it.
That's awesome. Now, do they sign up for this and then you get paired up with a mentor?
Yeah, so once a year you go and they have this big kickoff meeting, and they will pair you with one or two people, and then you go from there. It's loosely structured. I mean, you decide how you want to handle it. Do you want to meet once a week? Do you want to meet once a month? And so lately we haven't been able to meet, so we've been doing, you know, Zoom meetings and stuff like that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Well, good. Well, that's awesome to know that there's
Yeah.
that ministry out there,
Yeah.
and now we know who to contact if you're interested in that mentoring. But we are thankful for you and Skip, and you
Thank
guys
you.
have just
And
been
we love
a
you guys.
huge blessing to our family, and I know so many others. There's been a lot of people, I know that even on the realtor side, you've helped them purchase a house in our church and stuff like that, probably on
Yes.
multiple occasions.
Yes, the church has been a blessing to me and also to our family, and we are so grateful for everyone here, and just people reaching out because they need help with real estate. We just really, I'm very grateful.
Well, thank you so much. So hopefully this is, again, a conversation starter. You guys can go dig deeper with some of these people that we're kind of meeting, re-meeting, or just reminding ourselves of our stories. So thank you so much for joining us this week.